What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to ADHD Gamer Presents the Podalorian. It's a wonderful little Mandalorian podcast where we're going to talk every week after every episode and give you a little rundown and how we feel on it. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Mr. Jonathan Franklin.
What's up, ADHD gamers slash Podalorians?
Okay, that's pretty awesome. And joined by Adam. Y'all switched, by the way. Adam, you were on the bottom of my screen. Now you were on the top. So Mr. Adam Hammonds, how are you?
I'm doing good, sir. How are you?
I haven't seen you in 30 seconds, man.
I know.
That P was long. So guys, this is going to also release alongside ADHD, the ADHD Gamer podcast every Sunday. So we're going to have those releasing at the same time, so you guys can check this out. We are going to warn you ahead of time. This show will be very spoilery. There will be a lot of spoilers because we are literally discussing the whole episode. We're actually discussing 2 episodes this week because Disney decided to very generously give us 2 episodes in 3 days. So 4 days, actually. So we're going to be talking about Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 today. I'm hoping that this show is going to get multiple seasons. That way, maybe we can have multiple seasons of this show to pretty much talk about. I think it's going to be a blast. Guys, so to start out, first of all, how excited are you for the show? Second of all, how excited are you to have a second show we are now doing? If it's me, I'm happy as shit that we're doing another show on top of the one we were already doing, even though it's more work, but still.
I'm super, especially because it's a Star Wars related podcast, I'm super excited because I can actually bring some good stuff to the table. I feel like just too much reading and delving into lore throughout my entire life. Going to Star Wars. It was something that me and my dad connected on when we didn't have much to connect on as I grew up. So he introduced me. I remember he took me to the remakes or not the remakes, but the re-releases in the 90s. And that was one thing that we really connected on. We always did. We went to a midnight release. So
that's awesome. It's awesome. Now, but it's also good for you because now you're going to know how I feel when it comes to useless information that's in your head. Because this is how I feel when it comes to video game stuff, about how I have a bunch of useless information that I hate having in my head. But then it's also good for when people want to debate. So this will be you.
that can be very intimidating on the other podcast because legitimately sometimes I feel stupid because you have so much information about video games, and I kind of do have the same thing with Star Wars. Yeah. So
I can tell you, we talked about this before. Mm-hmm. I've never really read any of the novels. I have read the first edition of the Vader comic run.
Mm-hmm. Good comic.
Good, very wonderful comic. Mm-hmm. And I have also watched every movie, but I have not read any of the novels, so I'm not very up there with that. So that's of course your lore facts of this comes in. Adam, how about you, buddy? Are you?
I can kind of relate with John there. My dad, he loves telling, going and seeing Return of the Jedi in theaters, opening night and just seeing the title crawl and just how awesome that was for him. And then same thing, he and I have watched, 1 through 6 multiple times growing up, and he was so excited to take me to go see Force Awakens when that got released.
7.
And then we went and saw Last Jedi, and when whatever the episode 9's title is,
Rise of Skywalker.
He's already talking about going and seeing that with me. So having that with my dad is awesome. And then as for any extra stuff, I've only read I think it was the Young Jedi books.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if those are canon anymore, or if they were ever canon, but they were so, I'm gonna say stupid, but they were great reads when I was 10.
Yeah. Right. I forgot to add, the way I really got into Star Wars was when I was younger. My dad my stepdad, my dad Tommy, had these. He had the gold edition set of all 3 movies, the gold edition VHS set, and he still has that wrapped to this day. Yeah, so
That
that's
is so awesome. By
Oh
the way.
yeah, oh yeah, it's worth some money. I know it is somewhere. It's the gold edition set. So, and then he had original sets that we would just watch randomly, and that's how I got into Star Wars, was watching that. And of course, my dumb youngness, I really wanted to watch it, but then at the same time, I really wanted to watch Good Burger. So, so it's a wonderful movie. So, that's kind of what we do.
I gotta pause my mic. That's awesome.
I love Good Burger. Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order, man? I love Keenan and Kel.
Soda.
I love Kel does love orange soda.
Yeah.
So, gentlemen, let's go ahead and hop into the show. Jonathan, this is where I'm going to turn it over to you, and we're going to start out. Let's start out with chapter 1. So, guys, the way this is going to go, like I said, we'll talk about each episode. This week we generously got 2, but each week it'll be about the episode. Before we go, John, do you want to talk a little bit about when these episodes are going to release? So, because I told I don't even think y'all knew about it the other day when they talked about the release schedule. I remember saying something to y'all.
Fridays, right?
Yeah, every Friday. So the Mandalorian release schedule goes like this. It's going to be, so of course we have chapter 1 and 2. Which is episode 1 and 2. Episode 3 will be out November 22nd, so next Friday, and then November 29th for 4, December 6th for 5, December 13th for 6, December 18th for 7, and then the season finale will be December 27th. So we're getting all of that before the end of the year. That's awesome. It's wonderful.
When is episode 9 releasing?
December 9th? December 14th? What? It's mid-December.
December 20th, my friend.
Yeah.
So it'll be right around that time. I think.
Well, I was wondering if they were going to do kind of a.
Oh, I'm sure, and I'm sure
fully expect that.
I'm going to also tell you what I expect. I also expect like Boba Fett to have in Battlefront 2. I expect Boba Fett to have a Mandalorian skin. I expect that because I love the Mandalorian's colors in this. Did you guys see like the? Oh, never mind. You know, we'll talk about that later. So let's go ahead and hop into chapter 1. Are you frozen, Adam? No, you're not. Okay.
I'm sitting very still.
Okay, let's go ahead and hop into chapter 1. John, I'm gonna let you go ahead and take it over and start it wherever you feel like you want to.
Okay. So let's start. Episode 1 is, we're doing chapters. So chapter 1 is literally The Mandalorian. The setting takes place 7 years after the fall of the Empire. So Luke does all his stuff fighting the Emperor and Darth Vader and blah blah blah. 7 years later, we have the Mandalorian.
Is this after? Hold on. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Is the Mandalorian? When is it set? It's set 5 years after which movie?
After
Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm. Return of the Jedi, right? Okay.
Yep.
No, hold on. I get all these fucking confused. Return of the Jedi was number 3 or number 6? Mm-hmm. It was number 6. Okay. All right. Cool. I'm good. Go ahead.
Okay. So we open up to seeing the Mandalorian on a snow planet, and he kind of goes into a cantina bar scene and kind of gets into a fight. How did you feel about that? Because one of the big things I saw, there was that Quarren that he gets in a fight with, and it really kind of sets the tone, in my opinion, because they literally chop that guy in half.
Chop him in half right with the door. Yeah. I loved it. I as soon as when it started and it went in, as soon as he started getting in the fight with the Quarren and those 2 other guys, I was like, man. And then it chopped that dude, and I was like, oh, it's gonna be this type of show. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They definitely got the Western thing going, like just the old nostalgia.
Very, very, very walk into a saloon type bar fight. I like that. Yes.
That's legitimately what it is. Walk into a saloon and fight these 2 fucking guys.
He didn't say anything.
No, he literally said nothing. Just fucked everybody up.
Yep.
Which makes him even more badass, to be honest with you.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, I really like that scene. That scene was it was a really cool scene to get to see and to really set the pace for the show.
Mm-hmm. It definitely did that.
Because I didn't really know much of anything going into the show other than it was the Mandalorian, So Courtney was like, "Oh, it's Boba Fett," and I'm like, "No." Close, but no.
Boba is supposed to be dead by this point. He fell into a starlight pit, but then he also showed up. He also showed up in a novel, and then there was a comic that he was in.
He was also in this episode.
I don't know if that was him. You can't really say that's Boba.
I mean, you can't say, but he is definitely wearing the same colors and similar armor and weapons as Boba Fett.
Yes.
canonly he crawled out of the Snorlax pit.
Uh,
Not
that-
canon,
There's
that
a
are-
lot of speculation with the books and everything that they're kind of moving toward that.
There's
And
also an imposter where it's a random guy found a Mandalorian armor set, which was Boba Fett's, which was in one of the books, and was going around pretending to be him, and that was what they said this could have also been. Because I looked at it a little bit. That's what I was going to ask you before the show, and said that we talk about it later. But that was one thing. I don't unless they come out and say that's him, which I mean I could see them doing that. I mean it's a teaser. It's a teaser, so I could see it being like, oh well, he's not dead. So I mean I could see that.
one thing we know about Star Wars is that nobody's really fucking dead.
No.
To be honest with you, look, we've got the Emperor coming up in season 9, in episode 9. We've got Darth Maul came back. You know, all those different things. So Boba Fett can easily come back.
Easily.
That's all.
So like I was saying, going into I didn't know anything. So when that first bar fight happened, you know, I was kind of hoping it'd been kind of silly, like him try to get into a bar fight and then just get his ass kicked. You know, him becoming a good bounty hunter, like you know, not already there. So, but then having him, you know, have a guy cut in half by a door, that was like, okay, this isn't his first rodeo.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Absolutely. After that, we get him. He gets his bounty, which happens to be who the two people he fights with was picking on at the time when we walk in there. And he gets into a taxi, and anybody who appreciates nerd culture, Brian Posehn, a comedian, is the taxi driver, and he is fucking hilarious. And everybody who knows who he is, he loves Star Wars. So I was super excited to see that cameo.
It was cool. They let him get in there because that's and well, I'll talk about that cameo later. But that cameo was super cool that he was in there.
Yeah, I'm sure that was just.
Have you seen?
He made his day.
Have you seen the skit on Conan where Brian Posehn says that that Star Wars taught him about masturbation?
No.
you need to go watch it. It's hilarious.
Yeah. All right, I will.
All right. So all right, go ahead.
So anyway, he goes off and he starts taking the Mandalorian to his ship. Unfortunately, he's met with this sea monster that I like to call the hippo fish because he kind of looks like a fucking hippo when he bites down.
Which just chomped the hell out of Brian.
Chomp? Yeah, he just boom.
He just got paid. He just got.
That poor bastard's never gonna come back, but he doesn't care.
No, but he don't care. He got what he wanted.
Fuck yeah.
Real quick, can we go back for a second? The Mandalorian requested that it wasn't a droid
Yes.
taxi.
Yeah.
Yes.
What was that?
I'm not 100% sure on that.
The way I took that was because a droid can be tracked.
Yeah,
the reason I took that was because a droid can be tracked, and then a human's kind of gonna, if they're gonna get paid, most likely they'll shut up.
If I had to assume something, that's what I'd assume.
That's kind of how I assumed that.
'Cause I didn't know if he was gonna be like prejudiced towards droids or something, and then you know the droid later on. So.
Yeah, I'm sure droids, you can see them getting hacked throughout in the series and all that other shit. So it makes sense because he wants to lay under the radar. So that's what I see on that.
Okay.
But that fish, man.
Yeah, that bitch was big. Just took Brian out. He took Brian out, and then he was he came at the ship there, and he started flying with the ship as you see the Mandalorian trying to take off, and then he's having to go over there with his stun stick and pretty much just try to get him off his landing gear. And
that was a super cool moment, by the way.
That was a very super cool and very badass moment of look who I am, because it was like, oh shit, what's he gonna do now with this big ass fish on it? And then he goes over there, it's just like, all right, bye.
Which his weapon's cool as shit, by the way. Like, it's so fucking versatile. He can stab people, shock people, shoot people. It's crazy.
There's a very fun Easter egg in chapter 2, which I want to see if you noticed. But go ahead. But speaking of weapons, so go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. But then he gets rid of this guy, and this little fish gets on there and starts taking his prisoner up to the guild. And little Easter egg I want to mention is he keeps talking about, the prisoners keep saying, I wanted to be home with my family or whatever for Life Day. And if for any of you who have watched the abortion of the Wookiee Christmas special from way back in the day. Life Day is their version of Christmas. So that is just a subtle nod to the Wookiee Christmas special from back in the day that none of us are old enough to have actually watched.
I don't think I've ever seen that, actually. I really don't.
I have. It's really hard. It's basically a family of Wookiees, and you see, Chewbacca's family and all that other shit there. So it's if you want, take some time out to watch it, but you really don't need to.
I was gonna say I was gonna say, is it one of the things where you really need to?
No, you don't. In fact, I probably would avoid it unless you want a good laugh. So.
By the way, just before you move on to this next thing, did you see who's playing the Mandalorian?
Oh yeah, Pedro Pascal. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which
Yes.
was
I hope he never takes his helmet off.
The Prince of Dorne.
the Prince of Dorne, old Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
No, and that's the reason I hope he never takes his helmet off, because he was kind of fucked up in that movie. Because
I only know him from the Kingsman 2.
I only know him from Game of Thrones. It's the only way I know him. It's from Game of Thrones.
I didn't even know he was in Kingsman 2. Oh yeah, he played like a cowboy kind of guy.
Yeah, he was like whiskey. Yeah, he was one of the statesmen.
I've never seen Kingsman, so
Kingsman's a good movie. You definitely need to watch it, by the way.
I will. All right, go ahead, John. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So then we see this guy. He's like, "Oh, I need to go use the bathroom." Blah 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 blah. And he goes downstairs to this big weapon room inside the ship, and there are several prisoners frozen in carbonite. Super great, because I mean, if you remember from the original movies, it was
Han.
Yeah, it was Han, obviously, but they weren't quite sure about the technology, and obviously they're using it now,
Yeah,
7 years later after the
I was
fall.
gonna say in the movie,
portable system.
In a portable system, yeah, because that's what I was gonna say. Because back in the day, you had to, or in those movies, from the way I took it, was you had to go to that place to have somebody prison in carbonate. But then now and when he pushed him in that bitch, that's okay, all right, I see y'all got a portable system going now. Okay.
Yeah. Technology has obviously improved in the Star Wars world.
Yes, it has.
For sure. But then what happens? Dude gets pushed into carbonite, like you said, and then he goes flying off to the Guild planet.
And there's also like multiple prisoners on that ship with him. When he goes up there, he's like, "Oh shit!" And he's pushing. He's like, almost like you're going to look for carpet at Home Depot, and you're scrolling through the carpet, just pushing through.
Like,
or like those
woman?
Posters in Walmart, like those poster things in Walmart where you push it over to the new poster and everything.
That's a good reference right there. Yeah, they're I think I saw a woman, a man, and an alien species or something like that. Either way, it was about 5 prisoners. And he offloads them when he gets to the new planet to give to the Guild. So he meets up with Gref Karga. I think I'm saying that right. Old Chubbs. Yeah. He's got his hand, by the way.
Adam, if you don't know, yes, he does have his hand. If you don't know who Chubbs is, that's from Happy Gilmore, my friend. It's Happy Gilmore.
Chubbs.
Yeah.
You don't know who Chubbs is?
Yeah, I know.
I didn't know if you were old enough to watch Chubbs.
Yes.
Chubbs in Happy Gilmore. Okay, I didn't know.
He was such a funny guy in that movie, but and it took me a minute trying to figure out. I'm like, I know this fucker. Oh, yeah, it's Chubbs.
Exactly what I said. I said, I know this guy from somewhere. I know him from somewhere. And then I looked up the Mandalorian cast, and that's how I was like, oh, okay, I know where he's from now.
There you go. Yeah. So he gets with Karga, and he kind of gets shortchanged, obviously. He gets half the credits that he needs because Karga is trying to give him Imperial credits, but the Empire has fallen, so the money's fucking worthless, basically. He says it still spends, but he can kind of kiss the Mandalorian's ass on that one. Yeah. So he gives him Mon Calamari money, and it's about half of what he deserved. And then he starts talking about a client that has a big score for him.
It's like a thing, right?
Yeah,
it's like an off the books type thing. It's not because they use those. Are they calling them pucks?
Yeah,
or are they calling them pucks? They're like the bounty pucks or whatever. And he asked for the puck, and it's like, oh yeah, this one don't have a puck, man. This one's basically it's like an off the books secret operation type thing.
Oh yeah, they're definitely setting up this ominous position for what's about to happen, and it rightfully so, because he moves on and opens that door, scans that card, walks through, and there's Imperial stormtroopers just standing there staring at him
with some sweet ass helmets.
with some sweet ass helmets. And those guys got the stance for that down. But I'm not sure about who this person is that he meets with. Obviously, this gentleman's wearing, that the client, we'll call him, is wearing a medallion that has the Imperial symbol on it. So it makes me think maybe he was a governor or something of some sort, some low level person. But there's a lot that happens in this scene, and basically it's a what do you call that? Like a showdown. Basically, this doctor walks in through a side door, and everybody freaks out and starts pointing guns at each other. And Mando, in his badass fashion, is just, hey, fuck you guys. I'm gonna take some of you out. Who cares?
I like what did he say? You guys said you got you 4-1. He said I like my odds.
I like my odds. Yes,
I like those odds or something. I was like, okay. Yeah,
well, it's funny because Han was always, don't never tell me the odds, and Mando was like, yeah, I like those odds. I'm like,
absolutely. This whole episode is riddled with Easter eggs, and I fucking love every single one of it. Specifically, the doctor in this. Maybe I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but
no, you're fine.
The doctor had a patch on his arm, and it looked like the Kaminoan symbol. And for those who may or may not know who the Kaminoans are, they are the cloners from Episode 2.
That's is that the tall, long neck giraffe, blue looking motherfuckers?
That is correct. That is the tall, blue giraffe looking motherfuckers with the weird alien eyes.
That's the ones I see in Clone Wars all the time, and that's the ones I'm okay. Gotcha. See, exactly. I was wondering if that was the Camino people. I didn't know if that's who that was. Okay, awesome.
I mean, we can't verify any of this, but basically, what I've seen on the patch and some of the stuff he's wearing, the garb does look very Kaminoan, and the patch definitely looks like the symbol. So that's gonna be something interesting. I think it's gonna play a big role in it.
So this might be this next point you're going to talk about. I got confused in this little area. The medal that he handed him, that was that supposed to be payment for his stuff? Like, was that like an upfront type thing? And is that I see you have it here. Bulleted.
Beskar.
Is that Beskar? Is that what that was? Is that a type of metal? I'm guessing that's used for armor, because I noticed that the next part you're going to go to the armor, but I might be jumping ahead. But the armor gives him a shoulder plate out of it. So that's what that is. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Basically, he gives him this Beskar, which is a very dense material that is really great for armor. Especially, it's almost religious to the Mandalorians. So. As we'll talk about it a little bit later, if we want to go back to it, there's some significance to the Mandalorian race.
I noticed it in chapter 2 as well. They talk about the Beskar a little bit with one of the trading lines there. Okay, that's all.
Before we get too far ahead, the stormtroopers that were in that little area, they were credited as the 501st Legion, which was Vader's personal guard. Guard.
Okay, that's
so
cool.
I thought that was pretty interesting, to say the least. That those were the stormtroopers that were there, were Vader's personal, and then for them to go and get try and get the bounty.
Yeah.
Did they actually say that in the show? Because I must have missed.
No,
that.
it was just credited.
Oh, it's in the credits. Okay. Yeah. So it says,
but nothing is, a coincidence with Star Wars.
Right. No, that's good to know, because that's why I was wondering, because now that makes that significance a little bit more thoughtful. Like, you can think about it a little bit more about kind of why they're there, kind of thing.
Right.
I didn't know that. That's good to know.
The 501st Legion is very important to a lot of Star Wars people, especially the hardcore ones.
Because they in there
cosplayers and stuff.
Yes. Group 501st.
Yep, the 501st Legion.
So we usually run into them all the time.
Oh yeah, every time. So that's in a nutshell what happened. Except for they obviously, he says, all right, here's my client. You don't get a puck. You don't get anything. Basically, you're getting an age range to find this target. And here's a here's a little remote sensor for you to find. We can tell you the last known location. That's about
Yeah,
it.
and he tells him he's 50 years old, and
Yeah.
he tells him target's 50 years old and all that good stuff.
And
Absolutely.
he should be good enough to figure it out from there.
And obviously he is. So
Yes.
he kind of moves on from this after he takes the deal.
Well, real quick,
and
the
yeah,
client, he as Mando was walking out, he said something about I'm gonna get the quote wrong, but things should be in their natural order.
yeah.
And then Mando kind of like looked back at him and didn't say anything.
Mm.
So all of that with the stormtroopers and then the Kamoan doctor, I was like, is they trying to reference back to the stormtroopers being clones and how they aren't natural, and then going into the First Order being not clones anymore?
I've got a very good point for that.
Okay.
A little bit later in this episode.
All right.
But yeah, you can really take this a lot of ways. I think it's only being taken one way, to be honest with you. But that may be my own hubris, so we'll see.
Okay.
But yeah, there is definitely something big going on. If you've got this governor or somebody maybe even higher, you've got the 501st, which is a very important, the most important trooper legion, and then you've got this Kaminoan guy who's obviously probably doing some clone research.
Right. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. The 501, they looked a little dingy.
Oh, they did. They were very dirty, and they looked like they'd been hiding and stuff like that. I that's kind of what I took out of it.
That's why I was saying like super cool ass helmets, because they had like there was almost like bloody type look on there, and you had a dirt look on there, and all kinds of other stuff. So that's why I said that. I said, oh, that's pretty cool. They looked pretty awesome. And now that you say 501st, I'm like, okay, because they're probably special. They're probably special groups. That's probably why they have that type of stuff. Okay.
That, and if you look at like the old ones on Tatooine and stuff like that from the A New Hope, they're all dirty. This is kind of a dusty planet that they're on right now, so it makes sense that they're fucking dirty as shit. They're hiding out. They don't want to be known as fucking troopers. They're not going to get out there and clean their fucking armor. So,
right.
You know, it 100% makes sense, and I love the grittiness of this show.
So do I.
Yeah,
so do I. I like the fact of the gritty and the dirty and all that good stuff, because it always gets, I don't want to say it gets boring, but I mean, seeing stormtroopers all the time, same all all white armor and all that, it does get boring after a while. But when you see the one like these guys were like the Navy SEALs, let's say, of this, and they were just badass. So they were really cool. And then you once again we see Mando sticking up and being like, I still like my odds. You know, it's still kind of one of them badass things where he's like, oh yeah, you guys might be badass, but you're not me. So, yeah, it's still pretty cool.
Definitely adds to the realism and makes it feel authentic.
And guys, I'm telling you, the music hits every point of every battle and every like point in these shows so far. But through chapter 1, chapter 2, it's last time I'm going to say anything about it. But boy, this fucking music in these 2 episodes are serious. So.
For sure.
Go ahead, move on, John.
Okay. So after this meeting,
armor? Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, the armor. So after this meeting, he goes out and he starts walking along and goes into this this building. And guess what starts popping up? You see all these kind of bounty hunter, or not bounty hunters, but these other people in Mandalorian armor. And in fact, and when we talked about Boba Fett, 18 minutes and 30 seconds into the movie, or into the show, you see it's very blurry, but if you stop it, you can definitely see the green, the red. It's the same, looks like the same weapon. It could very easily be Boba Fett. I'm not 100% on that, obviously.
I mean, knowing Jon Favreau and the way he is a super Star Wars nerd, I would not doubt him throw some junk like that in there. Like that easily would be something I could see him do, like easily.
For sure. Even to I mean, this is 7 years down the line. It is past that point. He's had 7 years to rebuild himself. And it is kind of strange. It may fit, it may not, because Boba Fett's a clone and he's not technically a true Mandalorian. He's not a Mandalorian race, but that doesn't mean they won't accept him. So who knows?
Right.
But basically, he goes up there, talks to this armorer, and he gives them the Beskar, and he makes a pauldron for him. During that scene, though, there is he has flashbacks while the armor's being made, and you see it's obviously him. It's obviously there's a battle going on, and if you actually pause in the middle of him, you'll see the battle droids. You'll see the big silver heavy battle droids. You'll see the flying droid ship, assault ship, several different things. They go by quick, so you have to pause it at the right moment. It might be easier for you just to Google, but to me, that tells me that this is the siege on Mandalore. That this was when Mandalore was being taken over by the whatever they're called, not the Republic, but the Trade Federation or whatever, that you see in the Clone Wars, which is really cool because these things look a lot better than even the blurred bits look a lot better than what we originally saw back in the first 3 episodes. And I thought it was pretty cool. Did any of you guys get to stop and see it?
No. Oh yeah, I mean, well, I mean, I don't want to say stop. I didn't stop through it. I did take notice of all the flashbacks and take notice of what was going on. But I mean, with my lord not really being there, I mean, I just kind of took it as a war. You could tell there was a war. You could tell there was a lot of loss, and you could tell that something had happened to Mando in that time that really maybe pushed him to what he is today, and possibly like maybe he lost, like I'm pretty sure he lost. I think that was his mom I had seen, because I think I remember him saying mom or mommy or mother, and I remember him doing that, and I've taken that of okay, maybe he lost his mom in the war, and maybe that's one of the things. So
I think there was a father figure there too as well.
I could definitely see this being I do think I remember a father figure. I can definitely see this being a bigger part, like them going more flashbacks, in the future of the show.
Well, I believe the armor said something about the Great Purge.
Yes.
The Beskar was lost in the Great Purge or something. So, was that the Great Purge that she was referring to?
Because I mean, we don't know some of these terms. These terms are not necessarily widely known or whatever. So I think that's what they're talking about, because that's exactly what fucking happened.
Right.
It's almost no doubt. And they mention a couple other terms that I've written down here too, like sponsoring foundlings, the signet. They're talking about, have you revealed your signet? I am not sure what that fucking means, other than revealing who he is personally.
That's what I was wondering. I was wondering the whole signet thing, and what does that mean? Because I mean, it's just like there's a line in this, which I don't know if you have this. I don't know when this is, but you don't have it written down here, so I'm just going to ask you about it. There's a line in here. Me and my buddy Lewis talked about it. There's a line in here where where they say something about taking his helmet off, and he says, I can't take my helmet off.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, is that a part of like Mandalorian lore? Are they like not allowed to take their helmet off? Or is this because I do definitely remember, if I remember right, I remember seeing Boba Fett's face, I believe. Like if I remember right, I do remember seeing Boba Fett's face.
Or am I wrong? Not in the original movies.
Django. Maybe it was Django is who I seen.
You saw Django Fett.
Yep. I seen Django's. So.
And the excuse I give for that is because he was in his own private quarters, and they literally walked in on him in his private quarters. So yeah, you're gonna see him. Technically,
and I think that was also just dude.
Was that episode 1? That was in episode 1, yeah.
What?
Episode 2.
When that happened.
Episode 2 was when
that was episode 2 when that happened. Yeah. No. When he said I can't take my helmet off, I believe that was episode 1.
Yeah, that was first
chapter 1 of the Mandalorian. Okay. Make sure I didn't jump ahead. Okay, all right.
Yeah, that's kind of a Mandalorian bounty hunter type deal, and one of the reasons that Mandalorians are bounty hunters, just because this popped in my head, is they're trying to rebuild the tribe.
Right.
As I say, they're trying to rebuild their culture, their everything, and they do that by collecting fucking bounties because they're badass goddamn fighters.
Yeah, they are, and you can see that every time Mando gets in a fight. I mean, you can tell like he's a beast.
I was really, when they talk about sponsoring foundlings and stuff like that,
That I was kind
I
of confused on.
I really thought about the term, and I really think that foundling, like the way reason they said foundling is because they're literally finding Mandalorians in the universe
I
and
wonder.
bringing them
I was
together.
wondering if the foundling meant like kind of like what the Jedi do with what are the
The
younglings called?
younglings,
The
yeah,
younglings. So I was
yeah.
right. Okay.
Mhm.
So like I wonder if that's like the younglings of the Mandalorians,
I think
type
so.
thing.
Well,
It's not necessarily younglings either per se. It could be literally they found them and they can be adults or whatever, but they give them the Beskar to get them started, to give them money to go out and uh, become bounty hunters or
Okay.
create armor and stuff like that, so that
So
they can add to the tribe.
so what was going on in the end of that is he was donating that best car back to the rest of the best car back
Mhm.
to help the younger foundlings
Yep.
come up basically. Okay. I
Yeah,
found any
basically
more.
that's what I got from that.
That's what I
That's
took as well.
I can't be 100% on that,
well, the
but
literal
that's what it
definition of
sounds like.
foundling is an infant that has been abandoned by its parents and is discovered and cared for by others.
You see, that makes sense now because I remember Mando saying that he was a foundling, and that's how
Yeah.
he grew up. So that makes sense as to what now. That makes a lot of sense.
That plays into the flashbacks
Yep.
Yes.
100%.
And I
Um,
think
yeah.
Mando said it so stupid. He was like, "I was a foundling," and I see him kind of like, and that might have just been the way the line was delivered, or I was just tired. But I just kind of found that as him just being kind of.
I didn't pick that out, but
I didn't either. I didn't really see any kind of like shaking. I mean, you
He
could tell
didn't. I pictured
with-
it like him in his armor, just kind of like
because
stupid grin.
he sounded kind of sad about it, like
Yeah.
the fact of him being a foundling and him having multiple, there are multiple foundlings right now, so that he did kind of sound kind of sad about it.
And you did see some like little kids running around in
Right.
Mandalorian armor.
Yeah,
So-
which is pretty cool to see. That's because I don't remember if you really see that ever. So that's might be the first time you see that. So that's pretty cool.
especially if you watch the Clone Wars and you see young Boba Fett walking around. I mean, he pops that damn fucking helmet on randomly, so that makes sense.
Okay.
So moving on from that, after he leaves this place, he leaves the armor, he goes to go find his target, and he goes to this desert planet that either 100% looks like Tatooine or it is fucking Tatooine. I don't know.
I don't know if it's Tatooine, because the only reason I don't is because if I remember right, like I said, my lore is horrible, but if I remember right, Tatooine is a very kind of well populated area. If I remember right, that people
It's
are
in
just
the
spread
Outer
out.
Rim.
Yeah, it was
Right.
the Outer Rim, and I don't know. I feel like that was
it's
the only
very
planet we
sparse.
ever got to see the Jawas
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, that's what I remember seeing the Jawas on the original Tatooine. But then like when and we're gonna get to this, when he meets the first person that he meets there, the guy says that it's almost like it almost seems like a retirement area.
Yeah.
That's where he went to retire. So go ahead. I'm jumping forward. Go ahead.
Things we see in this, the Jawas, obviously, we see their sand crawling fortress. Now, Jawas don't necessarily have to stay to one planet. They have been on other planets. But you see moisture farms, and you see a lot of different things that are similar to Tatooine. Now, we don't know what it is. It's never named. It's never mentioned. But it is very Tatooine-esque. So I'm not going to sit there and say it is. It probably isn't. But, whatever. That's how I'm taking it at the moment. It is
Right.
For yous out there, you can definitely see it looks like fucking Tatooine. But the Mandalorian, he lands on this Tatooine-esque planet, and first thing that happens is he's getting his ass kicked by this fucking creature that looks kind of like a weird giant fish. I don't know. How would you describe that?
It's
The giant fish with legs.
Yeah, the giant fish with two legs and a massive tail.
Yep.
Called a blurg, by the way. And
This is the first time in like Star Wars history we've ever heard about a blurg, right?
I believe it is the first time. I've never heard of a
Okay.
blurg before, to be honest with you, but I also don't keep track of all the fucking creature
All the
names.
fauna.
I,
all the
I
fauna.
want to say that I saw one in the original trilogy.
Those are dewbacks. You talking about the giant creatures that they're riding?
No, in Tatooine itself, not in Tatooine. Tatooine was a planet. In one of the cities, when they, when Luke and homeboy go to
Mos
the
Eisley.
Mos Eisley. I want to say I saw walking through the background. It could have been a dewback as well.
Mhm.
It's been a long time since I've seen those, and then with all the digital remasters.
I'm looking on fandom here for a blurg, and it says a blurg was a non-sentient two-legged beast of burden found throughout the galaxy. Blurgs were notably used by the Twi'lek Resistance and Free Ryloth movement during the Clone Wars in Imperial area.
Ah, okay,
Might be
yeah.
why- and that might be, and it says here's some appearances mentioned in Star Wars Battlefront 2. It does show up in Star Wars The Clone Wars in the episode Supply Lines. It shows up in 2 more episodes of Clone Wars. It shows up in one of Rebels, and then of course in Mandalorian. And they're mentioned, so they did show up before, but I didn't. I'm watching the Clone Wars now. I'm rewatching, and I didn't notice it.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I do remember that the Twi'leks were riding some creature or something like that. So
I'm trying to remember what
that makes
Twi'leks
sense.
are. So go finish
oh,
your statement. I'm trying to look at what they look like.
Sure,
Okay, now
sure.
I know. Now I know. Now I know.
Now I
Okay.
know. Yeah, the
I'm
big.
good. Yeah, I'm good now.
So the Mando's getting tore up by these blurgs, right? He gets fucking bit in the arm. His armor gets damaged. All sorts of shit. And Nick Nolte's character, who's Queel, something like that. This name's never mentioned, but I had to Google it.
Is that Nick
Quill.
Nolte's voice? Is he voice acting that character?
That's Nick Nolte's face too.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Like you can see his, especially around his eyes.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
that is Nick Nolte's face and
Oh,
voice.
yes, it is. God damn it. Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Jesus.
because I remember looking at him like, man, I know who this motherfucker is. I can picture his face. Who is it?
I have spoken.
I have spoken, which is the best line, and
I
it's
swear to
going to
God,
go on
if-
forever.
No, and it's going to go on forever for every time that I hang up on somebody. It's not going to be a goodbye from now on. It's going to be I have spoken. It's straight up how it's going to be.
I
Anytime I'm
have
talking on the phone. Goodbye, I have spoken.
That's going to be a regular sentence on this podcast, I'm sure.
Yes, it will be. On every podcast from now on, it will be.
No, I have spoken.
It's I have spoken.
So says me.
Shake your hands with somebody. I have spoken.
I have spoken. Have a nice day.
All right.
So then they move on. Nick Nolte saves him with these shock darts, and they move on to his moisture farm, is what it looks like. And I call this moment the Blurg Whisperer because he tries to ride these blurgs and learn to travel across the planet because there's no way to get to his target without using these blurgs, according to Nick Nolte's character. So we go through a little funny moment of him going back and forth and getting his ass kind of turned up, but eventually he does the little handout. All right, easy girl, easy. Pets him, gets
And
on
then-
top.
Well, Nick Nolte's character said that he was a Mandalorian. His people had ridden like the epic beast or whatever.
The mythosaur. The mythosaur.
So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Okay,
that was
okay,
more of a
yeah,
statement
okay.
more than anything. I felt like I was going somewhere with that, but I guess not.
Yeah, I was making sure we didn't have dead air. I was like, oh, what's going on?
Yeah, I was like, yeah, the mythosaur is a legendary creature that the Mandalorians rode into battle, kind of thing.
Okay.
So, I mean, they're used to taming beasts, kind of thing. That's something that they're also known for in some circles.
Oh no, and I'll talk.
circles.
Yeah. Keep going. I'll talk about this in a minute.
But I mean, not a lot happened there. But then they end up riding out to this pirate den's hideout, whatever the fuck it is, and a pretty epic battle, in my opinion, happens. And it kind of starts out. The Mando's watching, trying to figure out his strategy, and this IG bounty hunter droid just fucking walks in, and you can remember this from the first time we see Boba Fett. The IG hunter droid is in that lineup of bounty hunters where Darth Vader says, "I want you to go find this," blah 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 blah.
While we're talking about that, do you know who voices that droid?
I do.
Taika Waititi.
Yep.
Yeah.
Taika Waititi. I think that was.
I can't never pronounce his fucking name.
I think that's so wonderful. I love that he's in everything. It's so
I know.
great.
He's hilarious, man.
He is.
I really
He
want to
really
see
is.
Jojo.
And so do I.
Yeah,
So-
looks like it's gonna be super good. But there's a lot of good
That
fighting.
droid is a badass in that very moment. That droid is a beast.
There's that one moment where he's just kind of casually walking. He points his gun in the air, shoots, and that guy
And
falls behind him.
Or he shoots, but I know when he shoots behind him when he's not looking. I thought that was freaking cool.
They did a really good job of making him look clanky and weird, but he's still being a fucking badass.
Mhm.
Like that whole scene was just amazing, and I love the self-destruct humor. Where, I'm gonna get captured. I'm gonna fucking self-destruct. Please do not blow up. What do they have it like 3 or 4 fucking times where he's like, "Can you stop?" And then right at the end of the fucking battle, he's like, "Self-destruct. Oh, I'll turn it off now." And he's just kind of sitting in a corner, kind of fucked up. It's like, turn it off. But that scene, man, was crazy. I love the merry-go-round turret, as I call it. You know, the guy comes with the giant blaster turret, and he just takes everybody
starts going ham. Yeah, it's going crazy. Yeah, I love that. And yeah, that turret was serious, man. And then you think it's, of course, they pull you in with, you think it's over because they're getting jumped, and then they just go ham.
Mm-hmm. In classic Star Wars fashion, they get fucking overrun and surrounded.
And then after that, the best part of this episode, as I explained to y'all before you even watched it, I told you the end of the episode was the best part for me.
Oh, for sure. And this is kind of what ties in, because they go in there, they go inside the building, and they kill the last fucking person that's waiting, and they find their target, their 50-year-old target, which happens to be a young baby of the Yoda race. There's a lot going on with this, and this is where I think it ties in.
Yoda was out there clapping cheeks is what Yoda was out there doing before he died. Yoda was out there clapping cheeks and had him a baby. That's what happened.
There's another little Yoda thing.
Another Yoda thing.
You have to think, this, like, if this thing actually is 50 years old, this took place before Episode 1.
Before Yoda died. So Yoda was out there clapping cheeks.
Right.
Which tells me...
What was Yoda's race?
Yoda does not. They do not know the name of Yoda's race. Okay. That's why I'm gonna go ahead and tag this term. A yodeling is what we're gonna call him. Ooh.
I can deal with that.
But this yodeling, based on the Doctor having that Kaminoan symbol on his arm, it makes me think that this may be a clone of Yoda, and that could have been very easily done. It was taking place a long fucking time ago, is when this DNA would have been collected and this clone would have been created. And possibly, because now I'm going to go into lore a little bit in some of the legends, the Emperor is showing back up, right? We know he's going to be in Episode 9. And I think part of that is because in the books and so forth, and some of these old games that we have, the Emperor has essence transfer. He can literally transfer himself into another body and live on forever like that. And I think that's how he's coming back. And my first thought of this was, all right, why would they clone a little Yoda? They would fucking destroy them. Well, maybe it was a clone for him to take in over an essence, or essence transfer into the Yoda. And he does this with clones before. He's cloned himself in the books. He's cloned other people and taken over their bodies and been the Emperor and done his thing. So that may be a little bit of a stretch. We really don't know what the fuck it could be. It could be just a brand new yodeling they found, and he's going to save the world. But that's what we got right now. Yoda's race lives to be thousands of years old,
Right.
That's why he's so young. He's 50 years old, but it's this little fucking baby that we have.
So I seen a meme where you ever seen the meme where a guy's walking with a girl and a girl passes him and he's looking behind like this and he's looking back to the thing. Yeah. So I seen it was us. We are the guy, and then we're looking back at we're looking back at Baby Yoda, but beside him is a porg looking like this. like what, you forgot about me, because porgs were the cutest thing in the world until Baby Yoda hit. And then, I mean, I'm argumentative to say that BD1, the droid in the droid in Jedi Fallen Order is the cutest thing in the world. That's my boy. But
He's super cute. I love him in the game.
but Baby Yoda is like super cute. So, guys, if we were to take this episode and rate it for ADHD gamers rating, we'll say of chapter 1, The Mandalorian, what do we give it out of a 10?
I'd give it a 10 out of 10 Ritalin.
I was looking at it at a strong 9.7 to 10 because I mean nothing's perfect. So I don't know if some stuff is perfect. Maybe so. I'm okay with giving it a first episode a 10 out of 10. It was a strong pilot, very strong pilot. I'm willing to hop it up with a 10 out of 10. Adam?
9.5.
Okay. Why do you got a negative 0.5?
Because I was like fully expecting Mando and IG-11 to be kind of like buddies, and then he gets shot in the head.
Well, he gets shot in the head for good reason, though. He's gonna kill a baby.
He does, but he's also on like the promo art of everything with like he's standing next to Mando and that other chick.
Right, but that's also the promo art of episode 1 or
right.
Chapter 1.
So I'm like, I don't know. I felt like IG-11 just got a raw deal out of it.
I feel like you're a little too attached to IG droids.
I totally agree.
Droids have rights.
Honestly, when I saw him,
droids do have rights if they are named R2D2, C3PO, BD1, BB8, and also what was the one from Rogue One?
K2SO.
Yep.
K2SO. I really liked K2SO. That's my boy. I really like K2SO a lot.
The actor that plays him is a fucking hilarious person. I love him. I honestly, I never was a fan of the IG droid at all. So I mean, it was cool to see him, but I don't take that much. I liked it. It was a cool droid. It's a cool. The assassin droids are very cool. Mm-hmm. I just don't. I was not a massive fan of them. I seen them in Clone Wars, the cartoon, like in the first season. Yeah.
And they were super cool. When they were on that the Scrapper, it was on Scrapper, mm-hmm. And it was super cool. But I loved this episode. So
this was a great episode. I think
it was strong. I think it was very strong. I think it was strong.
Chapter 2 wasn't as strong, but you need that stuff in there to add to it. Yep. So that's not a big deal. Has anybody got anything else to say about Chapter 1?
I am good. Adam?
No. I mean, I think Mike said it best when he said that paying for Disney Plus is worth just for the show.
Yeah, I mean, I go on what I said. What I posted is if yes, Disney Plus is great because you can go back to your childhood if you're in the what's called the millennial generation, but this show alone is worth I would pay $8 just to watch this show every week.
Yep.
The show's good. It's great.
Walking in knowing not that much about the show itself and just having my expectations subverted was just great. Like I sat there and I was just so wrapped. 38 minutes I watched it.
Them going out of, and they don't kill your time, which is another thing I love. Yep. Them going out of the episode range and going and doing all of the spin-off stuff and this new stuff is wonderful. We talked about it a couple weeks ago about what we wanted to see from Star Wars, and this is the type of stuff I want to see from Star Wars. I want to see them go here after the Rise of Skywalker's done and that trilogy's done. I want to see them go here. This is what I love. So I will give you guys a choice. Would you like to? You guys want to go ahead and hop into Chapter 2? We can do a Chapter 2. Well, yeah, probably
Chapter 2 is short.
Chapter 2 is short. It ain't too bad. So let's go ahead. Let's go ahead, John. Let's hop into Chapter 2.
All right. So Chapter 2. The title is The Child. We're still on this desert planet right now. Basically, we start out and we see him just walking with the baby. Walking with little baby Yoda, trying to get back to his ship. Super cute.
I still want to know how the crib type thing is just following him because he has it connected to his armband bracelet, communicator, whatever you want to call it, somehow because you always see him push a button and then push it over. Mm-hmm. So somehow he has it connected, like almost forcefully. I don't know if you guys noticed that because it's like. because he pushes and then he does a movement with his arm to where it's almost like force powered. He force powered it, pushed it over. Now I know the Mandalorian probably doesn't have force powers, but I could definitely see Star Wars doing some shit where it's like, oh yeah, he's got force powers. I could definitely see them doing some dumb shit like that.
Oh, of course, absolutely.
Well, the little yodeling stayed in the little crib that he was found in. So I don't know if that was just something that Star Wars magic. He can just pick up the thing and smack it on his wrist, and now he can control it.
Okay, it might be.
I mean, that's one of two things that I assumed.
With Star Wars, you never know.
I mean, it could have been attached to the crib itself, or he might have been just programmed it. We don't know. It probably is really easy considering that technology.
Yeah.
But even now, we're still going down, and what happens after this is going down the line. That scene with Darth Vader, we're seeing a rhythm here. We have the IG droid from the last chapter, and now we have the Bosk, the Trandoshan's that attack him in this scene. And Bosk is in that scene with Darth Vader, which is a Trandoshan who is also a bounty hunter. Right. So I'm kind of thinking that we're going to look at some of these, and if we go and look at that scene, we'll probably see a lot more of these same people, maybe even every chapter if this turns out to be a theme. But moving on from that, there's the big fight scene. We see, just like you said, he starts dialing in on his wrist, shooting the crib out of the way when he needs to, because these Trandoshans are trying to attack little baby yodeling. And there's just a little short fight. It's not really anything too crazy, I don't think. Did you guys see anything special in it?
No, I mean, nothing special in the fight besides he's just really trying to protect the little yodeling.
Yeah. They definitely do a good job of making him seem like a human being, like he has real emotions and he cares.
Yeah, he's almost like a parent type, if you will. He's trying. He probably doesn't understand the fact of parenting, but it almost seems like he's trying to be that way.
Yeah, and Mandalorians kind of have, when people think of Mandalorians, they probably think of this cold-blooded killer because everybody knows who Boba Fett is, and I think they're trying to change that because that's not necessarily who the Mandalorians are. They're fierce warriors, but they also love and they care. So, I think that's what they're trying to do with that whole thing, which makes sense. He does get injured in the fight.
Mm-hmm.
Adam, did you have anything to add to that?
No, not really. I mean, where you're going next is where my yeah.
So he gets injured in the fight, and we see him sitting down after the fight after he's taken out these Trandoshans. And the little yodeling, he keeps getting out of his crib and trying to touch his injury,
trying to force it, almost like a force heal.
Yes, right. That is exactly that's a common force power that we know from Star Wars lore, and that's what it seems like. That seems like he's trying to force heal. I even
have we ever seen that in a movie or show or anything?
I don't remember ever seeing that.
I don't think so. I mean, Clone Wars and stuff, the animated series, absolutely.
Yeah. I've not seen. I think I've seen all the Clone Wars movie, like the first thing.
No,
before any of the show.
Yeah, the animated series. You definitely. I think you do see it once or twice, if I remember right.
Maybe not onto that level of a full heal or something like that, but it may have been downplayed. But I can't think of a specific moment where force heal was actually used. So. He's obviously trying to do something and trying to heal that. I don't think there's any other way you could take it. Because he gets out of the crib multiple times before he locks that motherfucker in there.
It's so funny, too, because he puts him in and he goes, sits back down, he gets back out. He puts him back in. It's now you're dealing with a toddler, my friend. Welcome.
Welcome to parenthood, my friend.
Yes, you're dealing with a toddler.
The only thing I didn't really like is when he picked him up, you could tell it was like a doll.
Yeah.
It was like, eh.
Well, I mean, it's... Adam, once again, we go back to the live action stuff. What the hell do you expect? I don't know what it's at.
But it was just kind of like that. But I look at that kind of stuff when... there are, infants in a movie or something. Like, is it an actual baby? Is it a doll? Is it this?
You can't train a baby, my friend. I hate to tell you.
Yeah.
If you think you can train a baby, I'll give you my 3-month-old, and I promise you cannot train a baby.
You can barely raise a fucking baby.
I can, yes.
I mean, that's the true
I mean,
thing.
when people tell you you're never ready to have a child, that is true. You're,
I have 3 children that are 10, 11, and 12, and I'm still not ready for that shit. I'm just fighting through it.
yep.
But yeah, that's 100%. And one of those things that happen, and it kind of goes into my next point, is you can't predict what fucking children are going to do. And we see in this scene where the yodeling is chasing around this frog, and he puts the motherfucker in his mouth.
Just
he
you hear
puts the whole thing.
You hear Mando say, "Spit that out."
Spit that out, and he just swallows that motherfucker right down.
Cool. All right, buddy.
Well, good for you, man.
I see what you're doing there.
Good job, little guy. I'm glad you ate. Now I don't have to feed you.
Yep.
But after that, the Mando gets to his ship, and guess what? He finds trouble. There's the Jawas just stripping the shit out of his ship, and I thought the yodeling was going to do something in this scene because they kind of like pan back and forth between Mando and him.
Yeah.
But Mando just starts blasting the fuck out of some Jawas,
and
like fuck you, little fuckers.
This is the scene of the what I want to talk about. Which episode? Was it Return of the Jedi when Darth Vader is talking to all the bounty hunters? We've talked about this episode or the point of this episode before, but in the movie, what movie was it? Was it Return of the Jedi where Darth Vader's talking to Boba Fett and he's telling him about the bounties and he's talking to him about a bounty hunter? Which episode is that? Is that Return of the Jedi?
That was 5.
Yeah.
Is that Return of the? That was not.
Empire.
That was
Empire. Okay, so in Empire, I do remember this scene very fully of Darth Vader pointing at Boba Fett and says, "No disintegrations."
Yeah,
and nobody ever knew what that was, and now you understand what it is because the weapons that the Mandalorians use can freaking disintegrate people. So I mean, you see him fucking just disintegrating bitches, knocking them down.
Straight up. I mean, they turn into dust like fucking Marvel does.
Yes.
Which makes sense, John Favreau. But true statement. They end up taking him for a fucking ride for a minute after that scene. Like,
I thought that scene was pretty cool.
It was.
Like, he's doing so good, and then gets to the top, and it's like, man.
Which, at the same time, I was thinking, man, what do you like? He gets there, he thinks he's gonna do something, he pulls his blaster, and then it's like, bank with like almost like EMP type gear, and knocks him clean out, and then
like 5 different shots.
What cracks me up the most about that scene is when Baby Yoda's just sitting over there just chilling, and then when he wakes up, he's still sitting there just fucking chilling, just staring at him.
I like how the little I thought this was so fucking dangerous the whole time, but this, as a dad, maybe that's my problem. But that cradle was just chasing after the sandcrawler the whole fucking time. And I'm like, that poor baby.
Just worried about it the whole time.
Worried about the whole fucking time. I didn't give a shit about the fight. Oh, but he starts he was doing pretty good there for a minute, like scaling that, fucking people up. I mean, he was getting dinged, and I honestly thought he was going to take the ship or take the sandcrawler, but he got to the top, and there's all those fucking Jawas holding their little electrical weapons and fucking neuroshocked the fuck out of him or something. So that was pretty cool. I liked how he got dragged there for a little bit too.
Yeah.
Reminded me of when I just forgot the name of a major character. Anakin Skywalker got drug along by an animal way back in the beginning, in the one of the first episodes.
Okay.
3 episodes. Episode 2. That's right.
Okay.
Wasn't that on the her Naboo planet? Yeah, Naboo. Yep. Mm-hmm. So there was little nods here and there to that stuff. Then he wakes up and he moves on to he meets I cannot pronounce Quill. We'll call him Quill.
Let's call him Quill.
Yeah. And Quill ends up saying, "Hey, listen, come with me. We're gonna go and make a deal with these Jawas. We'll get your shit back. Don't worry." And it really plays to the scene like he's got a short fucking fuse because he gets in there and he is just ready to blast the fuck out of them. They're in this meeting trying to find some peace, and he's like, "Fuck you! You stole my shit. Give it to me."
Mm-hmm. I was mad.
Yeah, he was not happy. I like the little. They even did the classic "Ooh, teeny," And I loved how they told him that he speaks like a fucking Wookiee.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
That was hilarious. I died.
Well, I think my favorite part of that episode was right before that. Quill tells him, puts the weapon down, and he goes, "Oh, weapons are part of my religion."
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
And like he was just like he does not want to part from his shit,
No.
and he just
because
Oh my
I mean,
God.
well, the last time he parted with his ship, his shit was taken.
yeah.
And I mean, you could see the whole time even while they're making this deal, you can see the Jawa was walking around,
Yeah.
and you can see the Jawa was like trying to steal shit. I mean, they're even going over there and looking at Baby Yoda. I mean, they're just they're so you can understand why he don't want to put his shit down.
I'm sure both of you were just like me going, they're going to take that fucking gun.
Yep.
They're going to take it.
They're gonna take it. Yep. As soon as he laid it down, I was like, oh, it's a bad idea.
Yeah, no shit.
So
But
I mean, they end up coming to a fucking deal, though. So
Yeah.
that was good. I mean,
Well, yeah.
I forget all the things that he offered him. But, they
they-
had his
well,
weapons.
they asked for his weapon. They asked for what's that stuff called again? They asked for the Beskar. He said that he couldn't part with the Beskar. He asked for his weapons. He couldn't part with the weapons. And then then you see like they almost have like that exclamation moment above their head, and it's like, and then what's the word they use?
I forget the word, but they call it the egg.
The egg, yeah, it's the whatever the
egg.
word they use for the egg. They start shouting it, and they use and so they're talking about the egg, and that shit's hilarious because he's like, "What egg?"
What the fuck are you talking about? And when they finally get to the egg, I laughed at that too, just seeing it.
It's hilarious.
But
I mean, when they finally get there, but the fight with that mudhorn is crazy.
oh
It's
yeah,
like I've never seen a mudhorn. I believe mudhorns have been talked about before, but I've
Mhm.
never seen one. So seeing one in kind of a live action type thing was pretty cool, and seeing like how strong they are, and seeing him just getting his ass whooped by this
Fucking
mudhorn.
whooped.
I mean, he's getting beat down. He's trying, and then you could tell at the end. I mean, not taking your glory here, John, by speaking about it, but
No, good.
he's trying. He's fighting his heart out, trying. Well, I mean, first of all, he walks into the cave to find this egg, and he walks in and hears some growling, and then he's shining his light, and then he shines. You see a big ass eye open, and I didn't think it was a mudhorn. I was thinking it was something way bigger, and then,
I did that too because I thought that fucking cave was a butthole. I was like, he's walking into the ass of a fucking monster.
almost like you ever see like a fantasy movie and somebody walks into a cave and something opens their eyes and it's a goddamn dragon, like almost something like that. And then he walks out. You see blasters firing, and then it points to Baby Yoda, and then Baby Yoda's looking at the cave, and it's blasters are just firing. And then he comes out of the cave, and then that mudhorn just starts fucking him up, just putting his. And then that last hit,
Breastplate was dangling there. You see that? Oh yeah.
yeah, 'cause especially when the mudhorn puts his horn like directly into his. Oh shit, Jesus!
Calm down, baby Mike. Mike just hit his own microphone.
I just punched my mic on accident. But he puts the horn like directly into his chest, and then when he gets up, he's like trying. You could tell he's got his blade out, just ready to get fucked up again. He's ready to die. And then we get the
that
big
really
thing.
speaks to the Mandalorians right there too, because they fight to their last fucking breath.
Yep.
He obviously had no fucking energy whatsoever left to fight this guy,
Yep.
and that was it.
And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, the big
all of
part
a sudden,
happens.
all of a sudden, the big part happens. But right before that, that scene where he's like riding in the sandcrawler with the Jawas,
Mhm.
dude, he looked so fucking cramped, and he was so pissed off.
Oh, and then they hit that bump, and his head hits the top, and they start.
That was hilarious to me. This guy is covered completely in armor. You can't see his face. You can't see nothing. But Pedro Pascal, with his body language, you could tell he was just fucking pissed off to be there. I'll move on from that point. But still, the last thing that happens with the Mudhorn, guess what happens? Want to share?
Oh, the yodeling.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't know. You asked if you want to share, so I was going to share.
Oh, no. Yeah, I was going to say, you go ahead and share. Go ahead and share.
The yodeling uses the force, and he lifts this mudhorn up, and you can tell he's like not strangling, but what's the word I'm looking for here? Not
Struggling.
Struggling. Thank you. Struggling to use it for so long, and then you can tell his force power just runs out, and he knocks out, and he's sleeping. But what kills me is he kills this Mudhorn with one goddamn stab.
That's
So you're telling me
exactly.
that all this took was one goddamn stab? This is the only thing I didn't like about this episode.
Yeah.
Was you're fighting with this damn Mudhorn. It takes you one stab, which that doesn't even look like a temple or maybe a or a massive artery or anything. It takes you one stab to stab this thing and you kill it. That's the only thing I didn't like about this episode.
I felt the same way, and I'm sitting there looking at him, and I just watch him just stand up and stab that motherfucker in the side. I'm like, how did you know that was the point? Was that like a nerve cluster? Do you know something about this? What
Yep.
the fuck's going on? So
Well, I loved
that
how
was
the
weird.
yodeling like picked up the Mudhorn, and like Mando just sitting there looking at it, and then the yodeling passes out. Then you tell Mando was like, "Oh shit, I gotta kill this thing now."
Yeah.
He was like, "Ah!"
Oh, like
I'm like, take
I know that
advantage, dude.
like if that was me, the very first thing I would do when he's lifting up, like, who in the fuck is doing that? So I was expecting him
What is going on?
to turn around and look at the yodeling and be like, "Oh, you're doing that." But no, it didn't happen. He was just like, "Oh shit, there's something in the air. I probably need to get this done." And when he drops him, he finally is like you said, Adam, he's like, "Oh shit, I got to do something," and then he just stabs his ass.
It was
But once again,
beautiful.
it's one of the things where, like I said, it's like, how did you know to stab that bitch in that exact area to kill it?
Well, the only thing I can think of mainly is he may be familiar with these creatures, but he also, I mean, they know that is their profession. They know how to kill. They can find a fucking nerve cluster.
Yeah.
They know where to attack fucking creatures. So it wouldn't be outside the realm of possibility that he would know what to do in that situation. Hence why he sat there with the fucking knife.
Yep.
But
And then, so that scene was the only thing that bothered me was that one stab. And then, I mean, now it makes a little bit more sense. Maybe they know already. But then,
I mean, that's what I chalked it up to.
yeah, I guess that makes sense now.
The after that though, he goes back in the cave and he gets this fucking Jawa egg that looks like it's furry as shit. It looks like if Wookiees laid eggs, I would assume that would be a Wookiee
You know what
egg.
it looked like? Yes, but you know what it looked like? It looked like an egg that was laid, by the mammoth in Ice Age. That's exactly what it looked like. That fish was big. Big, and
Yeah,
it was
man.
like a bunch of worms moving at once.
True.
It was
Like,
it was funny.
that hair was fucking matted as shit.
It
And then
was.
later on, he gets back to the Jawas, and you just watch them. You're like, all right, what are they gonna do with this fucking egg
I
thing?
mean, the job was about to take off on his ass. Like they're about to leave.
oh yeah,
He's-
absolutely.
And what do we call him? Quill. We're calling him Quill.
Quill.
Quill looks at him. He's like, "Hold on, one more time, one more minute." And you see him walk up like a badass with this egg. Just
I mean, badass. I mean, he looked like fucked up as shit. Like
Yeah.
he was staggering and all sorts of shit. But that was great when he gives him the egg. You're like, what are they gonna fucking do with this thing? And they straight up just chop the top off
they hold that bitch up like a freaking Simba.
like it's a god.
They hold it up like it's a god. And
then
that
they
was
just
a
eat it.
just chop it once, and they go to grubbing on the egg.
And that was gross. And you could tell
Oh, it
everybody was
was.
kind of grossed out by it. Like I've played with eggs before. Like that consistency was a lot thicker and a lot stickier
Yes.
than any egg I've ever seen in my
That
entire
was.
fucking life.
That was
But-
like the baby was just about to be born. That was disgusting egg.
My thing was, dude almost killed himself. And these little fucking greedy ass Jawas aren't even gonna help him fucking put the damn thing. Be a good citizen, Jawa.
Hell, them Jaw wasn't having that shit. They
Well,
took it
just-
apart.
We'll load all your shit onto your little craft there, and you know whatever. You have fun.
The way they had that thing stacked was hilarious. The way they had
Oh,
that little shit stack was hilarious.
that's typical Star Wars stacking, in my opinion.
Yes.
That is just exactly like you've seen it in every fucking Star Wars episode you've ever seen.
I
So-
think one of the coolest characters I've seen so far is Quill in this, because he's just a cool character who's like really wanting to help Mando, but then at the same time he's like, I really want you off my fucking world so I can go back to peace. So I can
Yeah.
go back to being peace.
That's true, man. I mean, he's very. I think that's what they mentioned was basically he kind of fucking retired, and
Yeah.
he just wanted to, well, not even retired. He just
He just wanted to live in peace.
his own quote was something about I'm tired of living under somebody else. You know, I'm
think
living
it's-
for myself, kind of
I
thing.
think it's at the end of this episode he says something about
That's
not
what-
wanting not wanting to be in servitude because Mando asks him if he wants to join his crew, because he could always use a crew, and he said I'm tired of living under servitude. I just want to live in peace, and I think it's really cool that like how they do that, because Quill is very, very thankful, but also Mando probably has more to be thankful for because technically Quill didn't have to help him.
And on this planet, he can live free, which also gives more credence to the fact that this planet might be in the Outer Rim.
Yeah, I could see that because the Empire maybe hasn't found it yet, or the Empire, because I mean there are worlds like that. I guess I mean there's a world in Jedi Fallen Order where they say they haven't, that the Empire hasn't found it yet. So I mean that could happen, and yeah, I mean this episode was great, but it was definitely, you could feel the drag in from episode one. Like they wanted to kill you with episode one. They wanted to pull you so hard with that.
The first one's pacing was definitely significantly different from this one.
Yes.
Whereas that was like just a lot of information, a lot of great shit given to you. This was a little more slowed down. It told a story a little more. It kind of set up who this person was and his personality.
Yeah.
And that's important. You need those scenes, especially in the beginning. So I did see a little bit online, because I did kind of Google people's reactions, and some people were kind of shitting on it a little bit, just saying, no, it was a slow episode or whatever. But it was an important episode. So
yeah, I mean it was a little bit slow, but I mean there were some comical parts. There were some cool parts, and I mean we laughed a little bit during the show. So there were some comical parts, and there was fun stuff in the episode. If you guys, if we were gonna put a rating on this from the ADHD Gamer, what do you guys throw on this episode?
Me personally, I would say either 8.5 to, probably an 8.5 to a 9.
I was thinking an 8 or an 8.5 myself.
8.5.
8.5 it is on episode on
8.5.
8.5 on chapter 2. So we got a 10 and 8.5 on chapter 2. So far we're looking really good with reviews of these. I mean, we're not the only ones. There's multiple people. I see multiple people saying it's great. And I mean, you the only people I can see really getting butthurt over certain things in these shows are going to be your fanboys. They're going to be your massive fanboys. So I mean, I could definitely see that, but I'm really happy that you two seem like you're enjoying the show. I'm enjoying it as well. Guys, did you like doing this? Did you like doing this extra episode, or this extra, we'll call it show, I guess we can call it a show, this extra show about the Mandalorian? Do you guys enjoy doing this? Was this okay with you guys?
Oh yeah.
I love doing this, actually. Cool. I like to share my extra fucking knowledge because I need to get it out.
Cool, awesome.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So we're gonna like I said, guys, we'll continue doing this. This will be as long as you guys are up for it. We'll continue doing this after every episode. So this will what we're gonna try and do with this is I got a feeling the show's gonna have multiple seasons. I'm not sure if you guys feel that way, but I feel like it's gonna I feel like it's a multiple season show. What we'll probably do is we'll do a season of. So we'll do this season, of course, it'll have multiple episodes. So we'll do a season for this. So this episode will be called. I think I'm just gonna go straight into. I think I'm just going to call it season 1, chapter 1, The Mandalorian, or I might call it episode 1 or season 1. I don't know. I'm going to call it something, guys. But it basically it's going to be. We're going to go by season. So whenever there's a season up, this show will be out for as many seasons as we do this, and I think it's going to be a wonderful thing. So do you guys got any? Well, actually, let me go ahead and let me guys do some plugging real quick. Guys, remember that this is called the Podalorian. This is different from the ADHD Gamer podcast. The ADHD Gamer podcast is our gaming, video game news, and nerd culture podcast. You guys can always catch us there. You can catch us on our audio or podcast service around the globe for your audio listeners. You can also catch us on at ADHD Gamer podcast on YouTube and on Instagram and Facebook at ADHD or Facebook.com/ADHD Gamer, and then Instagram ADHD Gamer Podcast, where you can catch us there. But this on the Podalorian, you'll be able to catch the audio. Excuse me. This is going to be an audio show, so you'll be able to catch this on all podcast services, and you'll have to search for the Podalorian, or you can check us out on the ADHD Gamer Instagram page. You can also check us out on the Facebook ADHD Gamer page, and also the YouTube ADHD Gamer page. Gentlemen, is there anything you would like to say? Did I miss anything? Did I miss any plugs there? I
think that's it. I think you plugged all our social media and everything, and our where it's going to be and our original, so I think we're good.
All right, guys. So technically episode 2 for us, but technically we'll be talking about chapter 3 next Saturday night, and you guys will have it Sunday. So make sure to check that out. And Adam and Jonathan, guys, thank you for joining me. Thank you for coming on here and talking about this. This was fun. I enjoyed this. Like especially finding out different things about lore, because my lore stuff with Star Wars isn't wonderful. So I can find some certain things out about lore there. I appreciate that. Gentlemen, thank you. It's been wonderful. People listening, thank you very much for listening to us. And we'll see you guys next week on the Podalorian. So from ADHD Gamer and the Podalorian, we'll see you next week.
Take it
Later,
easy.
later, ADHD gamers and Podalorians. We like spoke at the same time. Like, ooh, shut up. Let me shut up. Shut my mouth.
Later, guys.
Later.